truth always manages to find a way. However, nobody anticipated that Tasha K would drop this bombshell. In a startling turn of events that is appending Atlanta's Hip Hop and Love Foundation, Tasha K has formally entered the fans are in shock. About the DNA scandal and what she just disclosed, the DNA test purportedly disproved Mendeecees' paternity for Erica, according to the queen of contentious receipts herself. A manufactured performance trickened was all that Mena's baby was. VH1 was aware of the whole situation. Yes, exactly. The camera zoom, the envelope, and the emotional responses. It might all have been a ploy to shield one of the most contentious spouses on the program. And now a falsehood, she told, is dragging Erica Mena's name through the dirt. May not have consented, with VMI's backstage footage and an audio recording. That sounds suspiciously like a terrified VH1 executive pleading with her to keep silent being made public by Tasha K. The internet is blowing up. Were Mendeecees aware? Was Yandy a part of it? And why didn't Erica say anything? Up to now, this controversy is going to blow out, so hold on tight. What you believe to be true is going to change. A sigh that wasn't intended to be captured on video opened it. After shooting her last confessional for the final season, Erica Mena had just left the set. Her eyes were bloodshot from suppressing tears, and her voice was rough from hours of retakes. However, someone in post-production observed that the microphone was still hot. She didn't want the public to hear what she muttered to herself. However, that subdued, silent statement is suddenly the focus of a media frenzy. They told me the test was fake, she had said. I was forced to read a falsehood. At the time, nobody understood what she meant. Not until the release of Tasha K video when Tasha's headline appeared, fans awoke to mayhem. It was more than a mere tirade. One had voice notes, papers, time pauses, and a fire inside of her. Voice that was unavoidable. To be honest, she started drinking her wine as if she had just discovered that the DNA test had been rigged. They were aware that they had broadcast the incorrect outcome. VH1 and Mendeecees were aware, and they gaslit Erica into silence. Eclipse was like a wildfire. Every fan site, blog, and disorganized Twitter thread was on fire in a matter of hours. Hashtag fraud was popular once again, but this time Tasha's receipts were included in the audio leak. Panic came from a voice that sounded uncannily similar to that of a production assistant. The voice continued, "They'll find out." On the B-roll is Tasha. With the other envelope, she has the video. A second voice answered, "Mona, damage control. Tell her it was scripted. Tell her it was a storyline." The harm was already done, and fans were already putting the pieces together. So this can't ruin the reunion. On the broadcast, Erica's response to opening the letter had seemed hurried and phony. But now it made sense. Dot wasn't surprised. She was perplexed, perhaps even deceived. Later that evening, Tasha went live once again and revealed the true bombshell, a snapshot of a dialogue. Between "Are we okay with the alt ending?" the VH1 producer inquired, referring to a person she had saved on her phone as MK. In response, MK said, "Erica believes that to be true." The second cut escaped her notice. Simply inform her that we are currently evaluating. The internet was enraged by that sentence alone. Speculation erupted as fans wanted to know who MK was. Some said it was Mona Scott Young. No one was certain, but it fueled an already raging flames. Inside the Love and Hip Hop cast, others said it was Mendeecees' management. Group chat. Things had already begun to fall apart. Rashidita wrote a mysterious remark about not participating in false TV. Bambi quickly departed the group, and Yandy she abruptly stopped posting, which was shocking for someone who often shared family photographs and affirmations every day. People began to question if whether she was concealing anything, or finally understanding she had been duped. Erica was the only one who didn't recoil, didn't give up, and didn't attempt to fabricate a tale. She shared a snapshot of a text conversation from the previous year that said, "We need you to reshoot the result reveal," was posted on her account without a caption. "Be sentimental. Consider treachery." It was followed by a response that only said, "But the test says positive." Additionally, fans matched the timestamp on, and the rest was done by the internet. Text with the date the DNA scene was shot. It was easy to verify that a reshoot was indeed done, and if the test was indeed positive, then everything they broadcast was false. In the meanwhile, Mendeecees was nowhere to be seen, not on the set, not online, and not even in New York, where he was supposed to participate in a press junket for another film. Rumors began to circulate that he had checked into a health center in Arizona. Some people didn't believe the unsubstantiated rumors that he was struggling with the emotional strain of the situation. His Instagram was inundated with comments From fans requesting answers, was he aware of the cover-up? Did he really think that was the kid not his? Or did he just follow VH1's instructions? A fight was simmering behind the scenes while all of this was happening in public. Erica's attorney Tasha implied in her second video that legal action was not only conceivable but was already underway after reportedly sending a stop and desist letter to VH1 requesting access to any film relating to the DNA segment. Erica said that they had not only deceived her, but also millions of people, manipulating her name, her role as a mother, and the identity of her kid to increase views. The DNA disclosure had been marketed as a season finale shocker, and it now seemed to have been staged. She was not mistaken. The program had received the greatest ratings of the whole season. A little video clip from what seemed to be a practice take was also included in Tasha's single quotation as proof. It shows Erica clutching the envelope as she looks away from the camera. "All right, let's try this again," he says. "Boost the intensity a little." Erica pauses. She can be heard repeating, "This isn't right," immediately before the camera cuts. There's something wrong with this. Fans were in awe at what they were seeing. The reaction from fans was enormous. And it wasn't just a phony outcome, it was a directed performance, one that Erica was obviously uncomfortable with. Fans debated whether Mona was the mastermind or only the messenger on Twitter for hours. While others conjectured about the network's responsibility, petitions were made calling for VH1 to disclose the unedited film. Could they be sued for purposefully airing a phony test? Could the program be canceled? Tasha continued to post throughout. It all, more audio, more paperwork, more clips. She and Erica weren't giving up. One surprising development was when two versions of the DNA scene had been removed. According to a former VH1 editor who spoke anonymously on a blog, one version showed Mendeecees as the father, while the other version did not. Internal focus groups were used to evaluate both, and the editor reported that the one in which he wasn't the father did better, more drama, more emotions, so they broadcast it. A fresh wave of fury was triggered by just one statement, with fans accusing VH1 of compromising a woman's truth in the process, choosing shock value above truth, and prioritizing ratings over reality. Regarding Erica, she resumed recording herself, this time for her own documentary series rather than VH1. In one footage, she says gently, "I knew the truth, I just didn't think they'd go this far to erase it." She is sitting by a window with the original DNA test in her hands. "They assured me that being honest would be sufficient, so I believed them and let them into my life. But that was never the case." The test paper and envelope are zoomed in on by the camera. They are still within, blurred out, but just enough visible to reveal one item. In less than 10 minutes, the video of Erica holding the DNA test became viral, and fans stopped the video. When it said 98% probability of paternity, footage enlarged it, began comparing the visible code on the document to standard lab formatting. And overnight, Reddit threads appeared with self-described experts deconstructing what the paper might say. One user claimed to have worked in a diagnostic lab and was familiar with the font and layout, saying others said that the barcode at the bottom may be used to link the result to a particular lab in Georgia, and that the paper seemed extremely authentic and not a prop. As the fans delved further, they were more certain that VH1 had not only fabricated the film, but had deliberately concealed the actual outcome, which was exacerbated by Yandi Smith's unexpected return. Her 7-second Instagram story, which included just her voice and a fuzzy image of a candle flickering, marked her comeback after days of quiet. She murmured, "Silence doesn't mean agreement, but sometimes protecting people means staying quiet." Her words were calm but laden. The internet was ablaze with interpretations in a matter of seconds. Was she now supporting Erica after all this time? Was she defending Mendeecees, or was she acknowledging that she knew? Demands for clarification erupted in her comment section. Due to the harsh ambiguity, in that same evening, Tasha K returned to her YouTube channel and gave what she referred to as Part 3 of the truth. This time, she played a live, unedited voicemail that she claimed to have received from someone deep inside VH1's post-production crew. The woman's voice was obviously, "I can't do this anymore," they said, sounding frightened. "We had 2 takes. On the exam I documented, but the one they broadcast wasn't when I alerted my supervisor that the second one was photographed with a phony envelope a day later. They ordered me to ignore it, even though the first one was 98% accurate. I didn't sign up to ruin a woman's life." It ended. The voice was unsteady, sad, and often hesitated. When Tasha's livestream finished, the chat room was in disarray, with fans yelling in all capitals. #S began rising once again, calling for VH1 to be held responsible. Hashtag justice for hashtag free Erica truth, hashtag VH1 lied. The most significant change, however, may have occurred when one of Erica's former co-stars, Camilla, went live on her own Instagram and said bluntly, "I believe her. I always thought she was real. They attempted to warn us not to become involved, but this is more than just television. This is the actual life of Erica. The truth is something the baby deserves." Her voice trailed off in the middle. She was correct all along, even if they made her seem desperate and insane. Normally quick to post or make remarks, Mona Scott-Young. It was oddly quiet, and rumors circulated that VH1 had gone into lockdown mode on access to all internal recordings. Insiders whispered to blogs that legal teams were rushing, that editors were being requested to sign additional non-disclosure agreements, and that production meetings were being rescheduled to off-site locations. They may be in big danger, not only financially, but also in the public eye. If the video leaked, if the actual DNA test was broadcast, or if Erica sued, the brand may be permanently tarnished. Meanwhile, Mendeecees' mother allegedly flew into Atlanta without being noticed, and paparazzi captured a grainy picture of her. Some thought she was come to help her kid, while others thought she had her own inquiries as she entered a hidden back door at the studio lot. According to one blogger, she asked a producer directly, "Why is my family being pulled through this? Who approved of that edit?" The tale went viral despite being unverified, and admirers applauded her for speaking out despite the lateness. By now, even casual viewers were engaged. This was no longer only a reality TV issue. It had evolved into a societal debate. Radio programs discussed whether networks had a moral duty to convey the truth when it came to children and families. Podcasts devoted whole episodes to it, and attorneys began sharing TikToks outlining the potential legal choices available to Erica if she possessed the original test and could demonstrate the fraud. It was widely agreed that she had a strong case for emotional harm and defamation. The reunion tape had been delayed twice, and emotions were boiling again in the studio. Bambi was heard saying a stylist, "I'm not walking out there to defend a lie," despite the cast members being instructed to refrain from making any public remarks. "I'll leave if they don't let Erica talk." According to a production assistant, Rashidita and Kirk attempted to mediate by proposing that the reunion be reorganized as an open forum so that everyone could voice their opinions. But the producers were afraid and reluctant. Limit what could be stated. Makasha never let up and unveiled a fresh piece of material, a 15-minute documentary-style analysis of the whole affair, which she brought viewers through. She added comments, overlaid film with receipts, and ended it with a frightening message, tracing the sequence from the season's first episode to the purported reshoot of the DNA scene. If they can lie about this, what else have they lied about? Even the most cynical followers were stunned by what happened when the video reached 1 million views in less than 2 days. Erica shared a clip from the video, shows a producer entering her dressing area with a manila envelope and saying, "We need to reshoot," as if there was a hidden camera there. It's just to be clear, Erica is perplexed. "Don't worry, this one's better for your arc," she responds, "but this isn't the same test." And the guy pauses, but the tale remains the same. It just makes the feeling more evident. The video ends. Then, but the message was unmistakable. They were controlling the story. Mendeecees' name trended once again, but not due to a comment he made. After discovering that he had shared a no-deleted Instagram story the day of the purported second shot with the message, "Not everything needs to be on camera," fans started putting together time frames. They discovered screenshots. When they discovered the timestamp, they started to wonder whether it was his subliminal signal to acknowledge the transition. But he remained silent. People started calling for him to speak out, to defend Erica, or to refute the claims, but he remained silent. No tweets, no lives, no appearances, which only served to feed the flames. Since his silence was being seen as a sign of remorse, Erica decided to stop waiting and posted a 30-minute video on her YouTube page. "I'm not perfect," she continued, "but I didn't lie." She described her version of events, replete with scanned papers, a timetable, and emotive comments. "I didn't falsify that test. I just consented to the truth, and they took that from me." Fans sobbed in the comments section, and thousands of letters flooded in, expressing gratitude for her voice, expressing regret for questioning her, and calling for VH1 to publicly apologize. With a trembling breath, Erica concluded the video with a straightforward statement. "This isn't just for me. This is for any woman who's been instructed to be silent and sit down. No more." The screen went dark, but the motion she initiated was just getting started. Erica's tale continued to pick up speed, and as the days went by, the narrative only became more intense, abrasive, and difficult to control. fan accounts began posting side-by-side video of the leaked behind-the-scenes films and the televised DNA test sequence. With Erica sitting rigidly and looking at the paper before letting out a sigh, she is noticeably uncomfortable in the released film, clutching a totally different package, with her lips squeezed together so tightly that they became pale. But it now reads more like uncertainty than shock. The fact that her stylist was off camera, but obviously there in the room, was heard muttering, "That's not the envelope from earlier," which made things worse. There was a startling difference between the two situations. The internet did what it does well and analyzed every photo, pointing out variations in lighting and cosmetics, and even the envelope's label had minor alterations. One fan shared a slowed-down comparison in which the aired envelope lacked a barcode at the bottom, but the original one had. The conclusion: the sequence had been reshot just as Tasha K and Erica stated. A fan went even farther and pointed out the shadows behind the sofa in both pictures, implying that the televised version had been recorded hours or possibly days later. At this point, fans weren't only responding, they were organizing. Boycott calls erupted on Twitter, and Love and Hip Hop's official page was inundated with comments whenever they posted anything irrelevant. Other cast members also started to distance themselves from the network, with Scrappy unfollowing the official VH1 account and posting a cryptic comment about truth above editing. The network's silence was causing more harm than any public statement could, and Carly Red deleted all of her own reunion advertising photographs after liking one of Erica's tearful postings. Insiders whispered that producers were fighting in the editing bay, trying to figure out how to put together a reunion show that didn't appear like a total cover-up. But every effort at a clear storyline was being thwarted by the intolerable atmosphere within the studio. Undermined by additional leaks, raw tapes continued to surface, indicating that someone, or perhaps a number of individuals, within the studio had obviously chosen to flip. Then came the voicemail that flipped the whole thing upside down. Voice notes from production meetings, notes scrawled on call sheets, even a scheduling change notification revealing the initial DNA scene had been deleted and substituted 2 days later. The letter, which was anonymously supplied to a gossip site and published within hours, included a voice that fans immediately recognized as a veteran crew member, stating that they had hired a lab to build a duplicate report. It was a New Jersey prop design firm, not an actual lab. Only 3 persons were aware of the reality. The second test was fabricated by Erdogan to seem authentic, while the first test was obtained from a reputable facility. Everyone was shocked by the message from Mona, the showrunner, and legal. Although some had made jokes about the envelope being phony, nobody had anticipated confirmation that it had been made that way. In her subsequent video, Erica, who is now in complete charge of her own platform, reacted with a single sentence: "I have the real lab name, and soon, so will you." There was a silent rage in her eyes that told me she wasn't finished yet, but she didn't say anything more. In a matter of minutes, people started looking through nearby Atlanta DNA clinics to see which one had performed the first test, with one person claiming to have matched the document layout to a Midtown facility. The clinic was inundated with calls, but they declined to speak, claiming patient confidentiality, but the pressure was mounting. All right, and everyone was aware that something would eventually give. Suddenly, Mendeecees reappeared, sharing a grainy black and white video to his Instagram story that showed just a close-up of his face with dark eyes and bloodshot. He started by saying, "I never asked for any of this. I was informed that the findings were legitimate." The film finished after 15 seconds, but the harm was done. I didn't read anything. I believed what I was told, and I regret it. Fans were split on whether it was a confession or damage control, but it was the first time he had spoken out, and the internet exploded with every word. Yandwi then posted a photograph of a broken mirror, along with the commentary of her own. It was ambiguous, dark, and mysterious, yet fans were tired of riddles and demanded answers, and truth cuts both ways. As rumors circulated that Yandy had been aware of the phony outcome but had remained quiet to protect her family, hashtags demanding that she speak out directly started to gain traction. Nevertheless, she didn't say anything more. Meanwhile, a well-known gossip website published a photo of what seemed to be an internal VH1 document called Contingency Planning DNA Narrative Collapse, which outlines what to do in the event that the envelope swap's reality becomes public. These measures include pre-written comments, press angles that highlight misunderstandings, and a backup reunion cut that steered clear of the DNA issue entirely. This wasn't simply a poor choice. Fans were furious. The show's reputation was in ruins. Advertisers allegedly began withdrawing their mid-season sponsorships, and it seemed to be a planned move. In addition, One long-standing partner said in a since-deleted tweet that they were reconsidering their future participation in reality shows that distort real-life events. Erica had transcended the role of a cast member. People weren't letting it go as the pressure mounted, and Erica's legal team said that they were getting ready to submit a formal complaint against the network since she had come to represent truth being twisted for ratings. The disclosure rocked the entertainment industry, and VH1 would be sued for defamation, emotional anguish, and purposefully falsifying a paternity test to damage Erica's image. No one had ever openly and with such substantial proof contested a network, but Erica wasn't finished yet. Tasha K was in the first row at a private screening event in Atlanta that she arranged, bringing a small group of bloggers, journalists, and even former cast members to see unreleased video from her time on the program. The film concluded with a never-before-seen video of Erica confronting a producer in her trailer. She is clearly upset and holds the two envelopes side by side, saying incredulously that they are not even the same weight. The room, apparently, became quiet as you messed with my child's life and lied to me. Later on, one blogger wrote, "I have covered scandals. Although I've seen sloppy editing before, this one was unique." This lady is reclaiming her authority after being exploited as a prop. The next day, the video went viral, with fans referring to it as Erica's redemption and petitions calling for VH1 to have a public in only 3 days. The apology gathered over 200,000 signatures. Reunion trailers were downloaded on YouTube, and comment sections were replete with the same words. Believe Erica. The power had changed, the moment had changed, and the truth, no matter how long it had been suppressed, was beginning to surface. The studio lights flickered above the reunion stage, as usual, but this time the glow was different, stronger, and more suspicious. As if even the electricity sensed that this would be more than a reunion. Everyone was silent, observing one another, and there was no giggling backstage, no chit-chat about lashes or garment zippers, no flirtatious side looks, and no last-minute jokes. With wary looks, wondering who would flip next. Tension was high, not just because of what was about to be shot, but also because everyone realized that the previous season had not been as authentic as it seemed. Producers talked behind her, attempting to arrange entrances, but no one really knew what Erica Mena was going to say. Mona Scott-Young remained behind the curtain, eyes fixed on her notepad, fingers tapping across the edge as if counting each beat of her own anxious heart. She had not submitted her talking points, she had not pre-screened her statements, and she had arrived alone with the glam squad and no entourage. The reunion began with an uncomfortable montage, and she carried a heavy manila envelope, the identical folder that contained the actual DNA test that she had held in the leaked film. Even the live audience, which is often boisterous and full of shadow, was stiff and not interested in lighthearted disagreements or trivial altercations. Despite the frantic attempts to nudge the story in the direction of lighter drama, they came for the truth. And when Erica eventually took the stage, the atmosphere changed so quickly that it seemed like a windstorm blew through the room. Her hair was pulled back and her makeup was minimal, giving her the appearance of someone who had lost everything and had shed more tears in the last month than she had in a year. Instead of waiting in line, she stepped straight to the front of the stage, folded her palm, and turned to face the crowd. "Before we start," she whispered softly, "I have to say something. I'm not asking for permission." Mona moved in her seat, clearly anxious, and the crew looked at each other in dread, but they couldn't stop her. Erica's voice started to shake. "Not anymore. A lot of you saw that episode and thought I was crazy. They drove me into a storyline, made me question myself, and you felt I was making it up, being theatrical, and attempting to impose a plot. They caused me to doubt reality, and worse, they gave the impression that I was unfamiliar with the father of my own kid. This is the initial test from the first shot," and she held up the paper after opening the folder. "Prior to them telling me we had 298, there were audible gasps in the audience. Reshoot for clarity. It reads 98%, not 0, not inconclusive." Cast members who had previously been doubtful appeared in disbelief. Rashidita grabbed her mouth. Kirk Frost leaned forward in his chair and blinked quickly. Bambi's phone, which she had been silently browsing through earlier, Erica went on. "I was told it was just for drama, that it didn't really matter." Yet no one attempted to pick it up as the chunks fell out of her palm and struck the floor with a loud clatter. "Perception is more potent than reality. My producer said exactly that." She stopped and blinked back tears. "However, that impression caused the world to see me as a liar, as a desperate woman holding on to a guy who didn't want her, and it shattered parts of me that I'm still working to restore." He hadn't spoken a word yet, and Mendeecees shuffled uneasily in his chair, his expression inscrutable. Backstage, Not during filming, not even to Yandi, who sat next to him with her arms crossed so firmly over her chest that she seemed to be keeping herself together with pure strength. And then Mona got up, entering the picture like a teacher, caught in a lie by the whole class. "I think we need to know," she started cautiously, but Erica interrupted. "You don't get to redirect this one, not after what you let happen. You sat in that control room and saw them deliver me a fictitious package." And her voice, however calm, had a harsh edge now that could not be soothed. "You responded, 'Good take,' after seeing me sob, and you lied to me when I requested the original video, saying it was tainted." The quiet was louder than any justification Ona could have made, and her lips moved back and forth as if she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. The voice of Tasha K, who wasn't even meant to be there but was granted a seat when fans requested it, suddenly came from the far side of the stage. "Run, run, the real footage, unless it's still too corrupted for air," she shouted loudly. Again, there were gasps. The producers were frantically trying to decide whether to pull the plug or let it ride as cameras pivoted to capture every emotion, and someone radioed in from the control booth. Then Yandi got to her feet, and everyone looked at her as she walked. She said, "I've been quiet because I didn't know what to say, but Erica isn't lying." She walked carefully to the middle of the platform and grabbed the microphone off the stand. Mendeecees and I both watched the first test, and we were informed that it would never broadcast because it didn't fit the arc. I was embarrassed, but I gave due to their pressure to be quiet. "I apologize." The room burst. For a moment, even the cameras seemed to tremble. The crowd roared, and the cast members gasped. The reality was no longer only conjecture. The individuals who lived there had verified it on paper. At last, Mendeecees' voice hoarse spoke. "I didn't want to be part of this storyline," he remarked. "I'm sorry, Erica, but I went along with it because I didn't believe it would go this far, and I assumed it was just TV. I really am. You were let down by me. Music? Hey, everyone's music. Heat music? Hey, heat. That's music feel. Hey, Erica." Gazed at him, her eyes welling with tears. Outside the studio, she didn't answer. She didn't have to. Fans chanted, "Release the footage," as they watched the live recording on social media. "Let the truth out." A projection was positioned on the sidewalk, and Erica's vlog was continuously aired,